like science.
I like science.
I like science.
So there we are.
Oh, we're recording right now.
Science.
We're recording right now.
So it's the
Right.
eye of the tiger. It's the thrill of the fight, etc., etc.
Rising up to the challenge of our rivals. Sorry.
Because we're talking about the Survivor.
The Survivor.
So yeah, our first dip into the animated series.
Well, no, we've watched the animated series before, but it's our first dip in this podcast that we're
Right.
talking
Yes.
about it. So we don't want you to think that we haven't watched the animated
Oh
series
yeah,
because we
we've
have.
watched a lot of Star Trek. There's episodes here and there I might have missed because of preempting or just getting fed up with Voyager towards the tail end of the series, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that wasn't really Voyager's fault. It was more, well, I mean, part of it was, but there was a lot of preempting going on there too. So
Yes. But
Yeah.
yeah, for the podcast, this is our first dip into the animated series.
Yep. Damn it, now I've got Eye of the Tiger stuck in my head, Dave.
It's okay. I've got two flies buzzing around me, and so it's hard to tell when one stops to land that I could swat at it
Mm,
because they're both
probably,
buzzing
yeah,
around.
probably don't do that while we're recording.
No, I wasn't going to, but I was kind of hunting with a fly swatter for a bit before we hit record.
Yep. All right, then, before we start, we want
Uh-huh.
to talk about feedback? We've got a little feedback.
Oh, you want to do our subspace messaging first?
Yes,
makes
because
sense.
I don't want to forget.
That makes sense. Okay, I've got a couple from whom you would expect it to be from, and that is Michael and Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
So Michael tells us, listening now, I was lonely, and Shinzon's voice has been a private joke between my partner and me for the past 20 years. Still gets repeated every now and then. And then Tom Hardy is so great in this film. Patrick's acting is sublime too. Of course, happy Star Trek Day to you both, because we happened to record it on or around Star Trek Day.
Day before Star Trek Day,
Yep.
technically, but yeah.
Right. So it was ready to be listened to on Star Trek Day, which was nice.
Indeed.
And then Patrick says, and on the topic of seatbelts, there's this deleted scene. And then he shared a deleted scene from the end of Nemesis when they're doing a refit after the ship's been all destroyed and stuff. And I can see why they removed it, because a lot of it wasn't furthering any story because it had been told already.
Mm.
It's like, why is everybody's butt still in the seats for this kind of thing? Kind of a coda. But yeah, they introduce a new character onto the bridge, and Riker hazes him, which seems rude, by telling him that Jean-Luc doesn't like being called captain, so just call him Jean-Luc.
Oh no.
I know, and that just made me not like Riker, so that's not good. 'Cause I don't like people playing on the gullibility of others, especially when you're in a role of somebody who should be trusted in Starfleet. I know it's a thing to haze people, but still.
I don't like it. I don't
I
think
don't
it's
like it either.
funny. I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think that you gain anything by doing it.
Yeah, and it
You're just being a
reflected
dick.
poorly on Riker's character, made me not like him in that scene anyway. And
Yeah.
During the refit, they introduced a new function, which was seatbelts on the chairs, the captain's chair. They could push a button and these seatbelts just kind of snap into place
Yeah.
over
Well,
them, which is like why they don't have those. They have
well,
them in some ships and not others, but
yeah, I don't
yeah,
get
I
it.
could see why
Yeah.
they didn't include that scene.
Yeah. The Franklin fucking had seatbelts. Anyway. And it's a good thing they did.
Mm-hmm.
So, just a little shout out from me to Tim Wallace. Hi, Tim. How you doing?
Hello, Tim.
Tim got in touch via Messenger about the podcast, asking some questions, and I realized at that point that we did not have an email address for the podcast in case you wanted to send longer feedback or not do it on social media. So now, thanks to Tim, we have an email address, which is very, very simple, shieldpodulation@gmail.com. So
That's easy enough.
If you want to send us shit, then do it there. Or you can still send us shit on social media and the usual places. Because the thing with Twitter is that I'm never going to call it X. The thing with Twitter is that it only allows you a certain number of characters for a
Right.
username, and so we had to put that one in as shield podulate. But everything else, everywhere else, it's shield podulation. If we're on that
Yep.
platform, you will find us under shield podulation, just both words mashed together.
And if you want to contact me on social media directly, you can find me under DJ Evil Dave under most social media platforms.
Yes.
I'm
And
not on Threads.
not on Threads. I am mostly like Twitter is Brandywine12 because, I couldn't do just Brandywine. There was already one of those, but on
Right.
Blue Sky, it is Brandywine. And on Instagram, it's Brandy Jackola. We do have an Instagram account for the podcast, which I keep forgetting to post episodes to. So, yeah, that's my fault. Sorry, guys.
Oh.
I'll be better about that.
Yeah, I've been
Eh,
posting them onto Blue Sky. I think we just got Tim as a follower on Blue Sky.
Excellent. Thanks,
So
Tim.
we've got three. They've got you, me, and Tim on Blue
Yeah,
Sky.
and we have Tim thanks to our good friend Dan Gunther because
Nice.
he's a
Dan and
follower of
Shen, take a
Dan,
drink.
and yep, it's gonna happen every fucking episode, you guys.
Yeah, just about.
Because again, this was his idea when we were doing Unready Room. We're still doing Unready Room. We're just not doing the random episode thing anymore. So which is fine because we're both busy people.
Yep.
Busy,
So we
busy
basically
bees.
stole that idea to do it as our podcast.
Well, I did tell him about it first. It's not like
Yes.
I just said, well, let's just do this and not credit Dan in any way whatsoever. Hardly, hardly.
Right.
He deserves a lot of the credit, and especially for letting us fuck with his spreadsheet. Okay, we're not fucking with a spreadsheet. I made a copy of the spreadsheet for us so that
We're
I'm not
using
fucking
it.
with it.
Oh, I was going to ask you, are those really bad short treks on there?
No,
Really? Should we
no,
include them?
the very short
Okay.
treks do not count. They're too short.
Okay.
There's
Okay. So this is just episodes and movies. We're not doing any short trek stuff.
No, we're doing the other short treks, the original short treks, like
Ah,
that started happening with Discovery and then kind of branched out into Strange New Worlds a little bit, except Strange New Worlds wasn't a thing yet, etc. ad nauseum. So yeah, we are going to be covering those because those, are longer than, 3 minutes. So,
right. Okay.
but I'm
That's
not
probably for the best
ever,
because I don't like that. I don't like them.
no, I don't like the very short treks. I was
No,
offended by most of them.
they feel incongruous with Star Trek as a
Hmm.
franchise.
Yep, didn't care for them.
It just doesn't gel. I mean, even if they use the voice, the actors to do the voices, it seems apart.
Yeah, and some of them
Because
were
I
just
know,
gross.
yeah, Lower Deck sometimes gets close to the knuckle and stuff, but it still loves Star
Hmm.
Trek. It still comes from a place of love, and I don't think the very short treks does.
Yeah, it was definitely not
Yeah,
my
it
thing.
feels mean-spirited, and I don't think that's in the context of Star Trek.
Agree, and I feel like, I'm gonna double check right now, but I feel like those are not on the list either,
Right.
as far as Dan's spreadsheet. So let me have a little peek
Okay.
if I can find where, there it is. Scroll all the way down, all the way down,
It's like
all the way
hackers,
down.
except without the weird graphics of you going into the internet to look for things.
Yep,
Or like Disclosure when they have a virtual filing cabinet. It's like, you know what? This is actually harder than just opening a file on your laptop.
right.
Why would people go through all this rigmarole to find a file and drag it and put it in another thing when you can just do that with a mouse?
Agree, agree. All right.
Netspace is weird.
I have confirmed there are no very short treks on here.
Yay!
So, yeah, we
So
ain't
I
doing
hope
that.
you weren't looking forward to us reviewing those.
Yeah, because we ain't gonna do it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's anything there worth discussing.
Not really, other than us complaining. So I
Mm.
think we just did. I think we just reviewed all of them right here. I didn't even
Yep.
like the musical one that a lot of
Mm-mm.
people liked, or the one with I guess the time travel or whatever it was, or the multiple universes, whatever was happening in that
Yeah,
one of the
no.
final episodes. People really like that one. Is like, nope, still don't like it.
I think those were the two, one and the same.
Yeah,
The musical one was also the multiverse one.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
because
didn't
they
care
had
for that
people
one
from
either.
different timelines altogether at once, therefore.
Yep.
All right, so shall we dive into our episode?
Yeah, shall we begin with your experience with the animated series?
My experience with the animated series goes back all the way to my first memories of Star Trek, because
Nice.
technically, I was not old enough to retain or understand any of the animated series when it originally debuted, because that was September 8th, 1973, and I was born on May 12th, 1973. So I was
Right.
not old enough to understand any of that. But of course, as you well know, because we are very close in age, they reran stuff.
Oh yeah.
On Saturday morning cartoons all the dang time. In fact, I would say that most of the Saturday morning cartoons that I watched were from the 60s, frankly.
Yeah, that makes
So,
sense.
so yeah. I remember watching the animated series, but for a very long time I didn't really have clear memories of a lot of it, simply because, it wasn't available on videotape or Blu-ray or, anything in between. So,
Yeah, you
so
have to
it's
watch it while it was on.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. And a lot of the time, the episodes were shown out of order, like they
Mm-hmm.
did with syndicated stuff. So, yeah. So I remember that from my childhood just as much as I remember watching the original series. So that's my experience with the animated series. And of course, later on, when it became available, streaming and all of that stuff, it's made it a lot easier to access.
Right.
And I think it was on Star Trek Day a couple of years ago that I binged the entirety
That
of the series.
must have been a
So
trip.
it was very trippy. It was very
How,
trippy.
how much did you see the same repeated animation of people like turning and running down a hall,
So much. So
or
very
somebody
much.
doing like a face palm or something?
hmm All of those things. I saw that a lot. And that's the thing. It was inexpensive to do stuff like that.
Right.
So
It's not the most expensive style of animation.
it's
But it
really
doesn't
not.
really have to be because I think the story writing of it carries it,
hmm
even if the animation is a bit lackluster or just cheap or, just a lot of shortcuts. But that was kind of
Yeah.
the style too in the 60s, is that they'd have a static image with, just lip flapping for their voice.
Well, technically this was the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Hanna-Barbera cheap style that was around that
hmm
era where they
Yeah,
weren't
it
doing a whole lot of frames.
took a lot of time to get them out of that. Just
Yeah.
animation in general took them a long time to get out of
Yeah,
that.
it was inexpensive, so I could see why they do that. I have a very similar relationship with the animated series as I watched it on Saturday mornings as a kid, probably maybe 7, 8, 9 years old, somewhere around there. I wasn't really watching the original series much because, I just didn't have any interest in it. But as a cartoon, I think it appealed to me more. And so I would watch the animated series. And I think that's really my biggest outside the movies doorway into Star Trek as a franchise is the animated series. I enjoyed watching that, the Cation lady and all that stuff. So, and the weird
Her
alien guy with
name,
the
her name
head.
is Maress. Her name is Maress. And are you talking about Eric's?
Yeah, that, it could be a little more alien than the television show because they didn't have the
Yes,
limits of makeup that they could
agree.
just draw somebody to look like an alien. Another
Yeah,
cost-saving feature.
yeah. And how else would we have gotten Vendorians?
Interesting. Nice little introduction into the episode proper too. So I guess we should start.
Yeah, so the animated series, season 1, episode 6, The Survivor. And I wrote down stupid intro music, and I'm not talking about, well, I am talking about the theme, that they wouldn't, actually license the Star Trek theme
Yeah, that weird
to do that.
little chimes that they do when the ship goes by.
Yeah.
It's like bling every time the ship flies past the screen, and you're like, no, no, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, what's going on here? The Enterprise is out doing its thing. They're close to the Romulan neutral zone, and they pick up something on the sensors.
Sensors. Sensors detect a vessel.
I love that they called it a meteor swarm.
Mhm.
Meteors are not sentient, therefore they cannot swarm. But
Yeah,
okay.
shower. Meteor shower
Meteor
makes
storm could
sense.
have
But
worked. Meteor storm.
storm kind of works. But
Yeah.
swarm is odd. But then we assign intelligence to non-intelligent things all the time.
I know, but a
So,
swarm indicates some kind of intelligent movement,
right.
whereas
Yeah,
meteors,
and
unless they
swarm
are
is like
sentient,
an attraction to a thing, like being
yeah,
swarming towards something.
yes.
I guess if, meteors are attracted to the gravitational pull of something, they would swarm towards a certain thing.
Would
But
they
yeah,
though, or would they just be pulled in by the gravity?
they'd be pulled in. Yeah.
It
They'd
wouldn't
be
really be a
attracted
swarm.
to. So,
Yeah. So like it's like think about an insect swarm. That is not
Mhm.
what meteors do.
No.
So swarm was not the right word, but hey,
Yeah,
we're
swarm
gonna
was
go with
an
it.
odd terminology for a bunch of meteorites.
Yeah. So yeah, they find a ship and there's this guy on it named Carter Winston, voiced by Ted Knight. God love you, Ted Knight.
Uncredited too.
Yep.
Yeah. You have to look up
And
in IMDb to find him.
yeah, I when I was rewatching it a couple of years ago and I heard that voice, I'm like, oh, that's Ted Knight. That's Ted fucking Knight for sure. And so I'm going on IMDb. Yep, sure enough is.
Yeah, I think Mary Tyler Moore Show was still on air at the time.
Probably.
Yeah, so I think he was still working, and maybe that's why he couldn't be credited.
Hmm.
One wonders about these things.
And one does wonder about these things. So yeah, everybody thought Carter Winston was dead.
And he's a philanthropist, which is kind of odd. And that's something about the original series is how it treats money.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, are they a post-capitalist system or are they not a post-capitalist system? Is like, how does money work in this universe in the original series?
Well, see, that's the thing. The Federation may be not using money, but that
Right,
doesn't mean non-Federation worlds are not using money because the Ferengi obviously use money.
right.
They're
So,
non-Federation, and these are planets in the freaking Romulan neutral zone. So that basically means Romulus, Remus,
right.
and possibly Vendor. And so it's just, it's to each their own, I think. As far as the Federation is concerned, yes, they have a standardized thing. And
Yeah.
when, if you need something that you would actually have to buy, that's where credits come in. But
Uh-huh.
it's usually, your needs are provided for unless it's something extravagant, etc. ad nauseum. That's my best way of explaining it. But that doesn't mean the rest of the universe is doing the same thing. So,
Because it seems like Carter Winston was human and likely from Earth, but not necessarily. I mean, he could have settled in some colony somewhere and not been part of the Federation. But you would think most colonies would still be under the Federation, but maybe some aren't.
well, I think you can still be a philanthropist without dishing out money.
Huh.
Just, trying to help people, trying to help other
Right.
races, other planets, etc. And if by some chance that meant that he needed to use wealth to do that, he would do that. It was kind of like, I don't think
Right.
the money mattered to him really so much as just being able to use it to help someone if that was the only way to help them.
So it could also be like a skill set that he
Yeah.
had, that he
Yeah.
particularly possessed, where he could assist people. He has some kind of resources, not necessarily money, but possibly
Hmm.
money that he used to help others, and that's what made him a philanthropist. That
Yes.
just stuck out to me as odd that in a post-scarcity society that you would have something like a philanthropist.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not post-scarcity everywhere. It's just in the
Yeah.
Federation,
Oh, right. So he might be assisting people outside the Federation
which he
using
was
what
because
resources he has because he would be near the neutral zone, in Romulan space or near Romulan space.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. So interesting thought. I hadn't
Yeah.
really, it didn't even occur to me that that
Yeah,
was
it
weird.
just stuck out as
So,
soon as they said he was a philanthropist. Oh, and oh my goodness, is he ever 70s?
oh, so
The way he's
70s.
dressed, the mustache, the hair. I mean,
Hmm.
you might as well have like a big open leisure suit lapel thing and be wearing gold chains, and it's
They
like
didn't
being
want to
wearing
draw the
high karate.
chains. Yeah.
Yeah.
They kept it simple because they didn't want to animate all that shit. But
Yeah.
and also we hear that Bones has a daughter. Why the fuck have we never heard more about her?
Yeah, that was interesting. It's that stood out too. It's like, oh my goodness, his daughter getting a mention here.
And why would any woman marry that crotchety son of a bitch?
Uh, People of all types.
Of course, that's assuming that they were even married. They
Yeah.
don't have to be
It's
married to have children.
what's the saying
So
go? Even Hitler had a girlfriend.
don't compare Bones to Hitler. That's not
Yeah,
okay.
I'm just saying.
He may be
It's
a
like
jerk, but he's not a fascist.
the ability or inability to find a romantic partner is not really conducive to, I guess, how a person is as a person.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not like a mark of moral standing.
Yeah. So of course they rescue Ted Knight. Sorry, they rescue
Yep.
Carter
Carter
Winston,
Winston,
the man with two first or
space
last names.
philanthropist. Yes.
Space because Carter Winston could be first names and last
Oh my
names.
goodness, I think we might have our title. Carter Winston, space philanthropist.
That's it. That's right there.
That might be a
Space
pretty good one.
philanthropist.
Or just space philanthropist. That's pretty good.
No, I like the whole thing. Carter
Yep.
Winston, space philanthropist. I think it's
Yep.
got to be all of that. So, oh, and twist of fate. How convenient is this?
Oh yeah,
His
yeah.
his fiance is on the Enterprise.
And
He's
Nord or
well,
Nord?
I didn't really double check that. I
Yeah, I
just
looked it
wrote
up
down
and
Anne.
yeah, it's Nored, which is like, is that Nord
Norid.
or is it Nord?
Probably Norid.
Yep.
But it sounds the same kind of either way. It just sounds like you're drawing out the D.
And oh my goodness, is she breathy? I mean, voiced by Michelle
Yeah,
Nichols.
Nichelle Nichols, yeah.
Nichelle Nichols. It's like weird because it's double N, which throws you off.
Yep.
Like Nichelle Nichols. That she's very breathy, very like Marilyn Monroe. And it's kind of an
Mm.
odd choice of performance. And I swear, this is something that we kind of disagree on, but I swear they said she was like head of security or at least on security detail.
Mm.
I think Kurt brings that up early on as like, can we have somebody on our security team that knows you? It's like your fiance,
Yeah. I
which,
would
yeah.
have to go back and rewatch it, and I probably should have done that by now, but I
And as
didn't. So,
good as the writing is on in this episode, it is a mark of some convenience that she just so happens to be on the ship and they
of
just so happen
course.
to find him. It's
Yeah.
rather odd, but that dramatic touch there, that kind of hook of the episode of them
Dun dun
having known each
dun.
other, it's kind of crucial for the story. So you just have to let it go that, yeah, this is just a mark of some coincidence, and coincidences happen, you know?
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's what they say. People don't tell stories of just every ordinary day. They tell the stories of times when something extraordinary happens. And this just happens to be one of them.
Yeah.
So you have to
Eh,
let some coincidences occur without, putting too much question into it, I guess.
Yeah, but anyway, they of course have to check his credentials, which I find
Hmm.
interesting. And so, they put all the, he has like a little chip or whatever.
He has a
He's
tape. I think they
he
even
has a
call it a
t
tape, which is just so 70s too.
It's so
Like, what, they
70s.
got a magnetic tape? Is it reel to reel? What's going on here?
Yeah, this was before cassettes, guys. So, yeah.
Tape.
So
It's
so
like
they
an
stick
eight
it in
track.
they stick it in the computer and the computer's like, "Yeah, this is the guy. All right, this is the guy. Stop
Yep.
asking me
This is
questions."
what he looks like. This is what he does. He has the credentials. They also do a physical check on him. That even Bones is like, why are we even doing this? We all know he's him. And he's like, well, it's procedures. I think Spock even says that.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the protocol. We're supposed to do that, just to confirm. And so Bones runs the check, and it's a little odd, but it's close enough. And so he just kind of shrugs it off.
Well, he
And it's
thinks
like,
it's a
recalibrate these instruments, Nurse
yeah.
Chapel.
He thinks it's a problem with the instruments,
Yep.
and after recalibrating them himself as
Yeah.
well, apparently Chapel didn't do a good enough job.
Right.
Doctors.
Yep.
Um, he knows it's not the instruments that were causing the problem in the test results. So,
Yep. There's
but
just some
that's
anomaly there but it's close enough. So
yeah.
yeah.
It's gonna get messy. It's gonna get messy up in here in a bit. So the thing is that even, I hadn't remembered that this episode had Vendorians in it, or a Vendorian in it, I
Yes.
should say. Not Vendorians, but one Vendorian. And they do mention Vendor in the early part of the episode about how his ship had been near there, if I remember
Right.
correctly. So, and when that happened, I'm in my brain going, "Oh, Vendorians. Wait a minute, those are the shapeshifter guys with all the
Hmm.
tentacles. So
So yeah.
many tentacles. Frankly, in their natural form, they could be quite fun, if you know what I mean. Anyway,
Okay. Well, it's like what, hentai fun?
sure.
Okay. Didn't think about
Sorry.
that, but
I was saying, animation
it's
wise.
just- so
So
one-man orgy.
tentacles. So many tentacles. Anyway, of course, Anne wants to get back together with Carter, but he's like, no, sorry, I can't marry you. Sorry.
Yep, standoffish is like people change.
I love you, but I can't do this.
Yep.
Can't do it. So yeah, this is when things start to get crazy. Basically, the audience, get the revelation that Carter's actually a Vendorian. Of course, we don't know that he's a Vendorian. I mean, like, technically, the first time this episode aired, no one had any idea what a Vendorian was, what they looked like, etc.
And every time he transforms, he does like the Wakanda Forever symbol thing. Just crosses his arms in front of his chest and then
It's not
changes
exact.
form.
It's not exactly like that, because with Wakanda Forever, it's fists, but with
Yeah, and
him, it
he's
was
got him
his
in
just
like
knife
knife
hands.
or sword
Knife
hands.
hands.
Yeah, it's just bladed hands,
Yeah.
like he's doing an X-Men symbol or something.
So yeah, basically he's gotta escape, but his ship isn't repaired, if I remember right.
Right.
And so he decides, okay, well, we don't really, there's no discussion about this. He just changes, he just meets up with Kirk,
Yep. Just
basically
for a casual chat.
makes him puts him to sleep. Not like putting a pet to sleep. Just
Like a stinger
induces
kind of thing. It's almost like
yeah,
the
it's like
the
a
Vulcan neck pinch, but it's with a tentacle, and I
yeah,
suppose there's some kind of stinger attached that, when it hits the neck, it knocks them unconscious.
yeah.
And then of course takes Kirk's form,
And orders them into the neutral zone.
which I had an issue with too, because you'd think, okay, we need confirmation,
Hmm.
something that if the captain's going to order you into the neutral zone, you got to have some kind of chain of command thing to just realize that your captain's not surrendering the vessel to the Romulans or something like that. There's got to be some kind of order going on rather than just the whims of your captain. So it's weird that they just followed through with these orders. I mean, they questioned them, but not into a degree where they actually request confirmation of the orders to go into the neutral zone. They just take this fake Kirk on his word, but they do kind of raise some eyebrows at it.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. Kirk has earned this. The actual
Right.
Kirk has earned this loyalty. He has earned it by his actions and by his decisions. And so no one, I mean, they think it's odd, but he doesn't get upset. He doesn't
Mm.
shout at anybody. He just says, "No, these are my orders. We need to do this." And even Spock's, though he's uneasy, he's like, "Okay." So, because he doesn't have any grounds for saying that he's mentally unfit or anything like that.
Well,
There's
even
no
the
evidence of that.
Vendorian
Vendorian.
says that you take on characteristics of the person that you're imitating.
Hmm.
And so when you become this person, you like by becoming Kirk, you adopt some of Kirk's mannerisms and thought processes and stuff like that. So I guess it would be very difficult to detect.
Mm-hmm.
It would seem like what Kirk would do. It's just still very odd. And especially, and this is one of those things where does Star Trek realize they're in the Star Trek universe? The people populating, the Enterprise know that they're in Star Trek and that there's stuff like Mirror Kirk. There are instances where Kirk might act a little oddly or do things that are counter to the protocols of Starfleet. And wouldn't they question those because they've happened before? So why wouldn't they question them if it happened again?
Yeah, again, I think that it's all about Kirk's tenure as captain, and it's
Right.
about the trust that he gives his people and the trust that his people give him. And they truly believe that he wouldn't fuck with them, you know?
Right.
So that actually, I think, goes a long way when it comes to a crew that has been together for several years.
It's odd also that he doesn't just kill Kirk, just knocks him out, because it would have
Yeah.
been more convenient to the Vindalorian if he had killed Kirk.
No,
And that way,
Vendorian. This is not
Vindorian,
a mashup of Vendor and the Mandalorian. This is just
Vindorian.
Vendorian.
Okay, Vindorian.
Oh,
Okay,
I
so
don't know now. The Vendalorian might be a
you're
title.
right, Vindorian. Okay, so what was I saying? That killing Kirk.
Hmm.
That because Kirk awakes from, getting knocked out with this stinger and wanders onto the bridge. I don't know why he doesn't go to sickbay, but he wanders onto the bridge and realizes that they're in Romulan space. And he's like, "Why are we here?" It's like, "Well, you told us to be here." And it's like, "Uh-oh."
The last thing I remember was being really tired and going down for a nap.
Yep, I was just talking to Carter
Mm.
Winston. Blah, blah,
Mm-hmm. Bum
blah.
bum 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 bum. Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing, though. This actually gets explained because later we find out that the Vendorian has taken on so many aspects of Carter Winston.
Vindalorian.
Vendorian has taken on so much of the actual aspects of Carter Winston that he's not just suddenly going to be a killer.
Right.
He's being, this is not really the best word because there are more than humans in this universe, but he's being humane about it and just trying to, escape before the Romulans come and get him.
Yeah, well, he still brought the Enterprise into Romulan space by design because he does seem to be working for the Romulans.
He does, but he doesn't want to do it,
Right, he's conflicted.
especially knowing that Anne's there.
Right.
So, but since Kirk's fine now, he's got to find another person to impersonate, and so he takes over Dr. McCoy.
Yeah, it's a little bit like John Carpenter's The Thing. I could see
Yes.
how this could develop a lot of paranoia if
Mm-hmm.
this were to continue into a longer story. And this was novelized. So there is a book version of this episode out there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, a little bit of pretending to be McCoy now and
Yep.
dragging him off into like a closet.
Yeah, basically saying, "Oh nope, all the tests were perfectly normal. He's totally human." Wink,
Yep.
wink.
Hmm.
And and of course, Kirk and Spock, or Spirk, as I like to call them,
Yep.
that's their fan fiction name, Spirk.
Uh,
Figure out that something weird is going on with Carter, and so they head to sickbay, and they find the unconscious Bones and get him mobile again. And Spock realizes that there's one too many beds in
yeah,
the
that
med
was
bay.
interesting. So Findorians don't just transform into other living creatures. They can take any form,
Yep.
kind of like Scooby-Doo can, just
And
shape
so
of a
can
vase or something.
yeah, so can Odo. Odo can
Yep.
change into boxes and
Hmm.
dogs and lots of other things. I don't know why boxes and dogs were the first thing that came to
I
mind, but
don't know,
there
maybe
you
lower
go.
decks is in your mind, the box
The
that turns
the
into a dog.
dog. No, it's the dog that turns into a box.
Oh, okay.
The dog. That is the
Yeah,
name of the
so
dog. The dog.
yeah, it takes the form of another medical bed.
Yep.
And do they threaten to, I think McCoy threatens to throw acid?
Because it will destroy most people, most beings
Most
rather,
anything.
who are
It says the
organic.
only thing it's not going to dissolve is the glass bottle it's in. So you
Mm-hmm.
better not spill it because it's going to eat through the hole like an alien. Going to have an egress situation.
Yeah. And that's really the big problem behind all of this, and the reason why this poor Vendorian is doing what he's doing is because Vendor is quarantined and he can't go back there.
Mm.
So he can't go back to his home planet. So the Romulans basically, drafted him and used him as a spy.
Yes, because
So,
if you venture into the neutral zone, if a Starfleet vessel ventures into the neutral zone, the Romulans can claim your ship. That's just in the treaty.
mhm.
You have to hand over your ship, and then I guess they escort you out and another ship picks you up.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
we
this is all by design.
And you kind of have to wonder if this is the first time they've used this ploy, they've used this Vendorian to try and do this, or if they've
Hmm.
captured a lot of ships this way.
I don't know because you think word would get around. This might be the
Yeah.
first instance because
Mm,
otherwise I think everybody would be briefed that, hey, there are these shapeshifters that are trying to convince people to go into the neutral zone so that Romulans can claim the ship. This
yeah.
might be the first instance. That's my guess anyway.
Yep. Uh, and of course, we'll just call him Carter. Carter is trying to escape, and it has the ability to stop him, but doesn't.
Oh yeah,
But
little standing with the phaser up
yep,
and just can't pull the trigger.
yep. She can't fire. So.
Yeah.
And now Romulans are
Yep.
there.
Yeah.
So,
A couple
and
of
we
birds of prey decloak.
we think that what's going on is that Carter's going to leave and go back to the Romulans, but that's not quite what happens.
Oh,
Of course, the Romulans easily take down their shields, the Enterprise's shields, except somehow they mysteriously they have a deflector shield go back up just in time so that they don't get destroyed by Romulans. Because basically, Kirk's like, fuck you, I'm not giving you my ship. That's part of the treaty. Don't care. Fuck you.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's Kirk. That is Kirk right there. Don't care. Do not care what you think I'm gonna do. I ain't doing it.
Well, at first Kirk's like, yeah, this is the treaty, and at first he's like, yeah, I'm going to hand over my ship, but which is weird for
Yep.
Kirk. But once all the pieces fall together and he realizes it's all a ploy,
Mm-hmm.
that it's they that have broken the treaty by employing espionage to draw them into the neutral zone,
And using an
then
agent from a quarantined world,
yep,
nonetheless.
that it's actually the Romulans that are at fault and that he can keep his ship.
Yeah. Well, it's funny the whole trying to catch Carter, keep him from leaving the ship. It's
Get
basically
Carter.
just get Carter. It's basically just a whole bunch of people standing around watching him run. It's
Yeah,
just like
there's a
he
lot of
runs
that.
through this room and people are just like, "What? Who?
And there's all that
What?"
stop, pause, turn, run down a hall.
Yeah, a lot of reused animation.
Yep.
So, yeah. But of course, and the interesting thing is that when Anne finds out that it's actually a Vendorian, she's not completely repulsed. So more credit to Anne.
Yeah. I mean, she's a little put off or a little, on a back on her feet, but yeah, she's not downright repulsed, and she's still like, yeah, I see him in you, and that's when the Vendorian says, yes, we take on characteristics of the person we imitate. And this guy crashed, landed on our planet. We tried to care for him, but eventually he died. But I was with him a lot, and I learned a lot from him and picked up on a lot of his qualities. So yeah, there in some respects, yeah, he's with me, but I am not him.
Yeah. But this Vendorian has a great deal of empathy, and I
Hmm.
think if I remember right, he was actually there when Carter passed. He was
Yeah,
with
he was
them
like at his
at his
side
bedside.
trying to,
Yeah.
yeah, trying to care for him.
So in that way, he cares for Anne as much as
Yes.
Carter did. But of course, he's not actually Carter. But he's as much Carter as he could possibly be, frankly. So yeah, they basically, they win the day. They send the Romulans running.
Hmm.
And
Disable their ships.
yeah, so silly Romulans.
Hmm.
You should know better than to take on the flagship of the of Starfleet, so
Yep.
flagship of the Federation.
Hmm.
But yeah, so it doesn't end exactly happy because,
Yeah. There's
you
going to
know,
be a trial because this Vendorian did engage in espionage, did draw them into the neutral zone, but they're going to, Kirk's going to put in a word because he did step down. He did assist them in the end. So try to have a lesser sentence, I guess, if it does go to some kind of conviction.
yeah. Do you think that later on that he and Anne totally get together?
Uh, I I wouldn't doubt it actually, because she seems down for it and he
Yeah.
seems down for it, so why not? And it's not unheard of to have, intergalactic relationships or interplanetary relationships in Star Trek.
Interspecies relationships?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, this freaking episode is so packed with stuff. It's
Yeah, this
so
is
packed with
dense.
it's dense with lore.
For like something that's under a half hour long, it is packed with information.
Yeah,
And it's a good story. It's dramatic, it's thrilling. You have the whole neutral zone thing, you have the whole Romulan thing. Plus you have this tragic love story at the center of it.
yeah.
There's little moments of attempts at humor, which, do okay. Star Trek's not always been the funniest of programs, so when they do comedy, it's kind of like, yeah, all right, I get it.
Most of the time, like in the original series, a lot of the time it fell flat, but
Yeah.
and sometimes in TNG, I feel like Deep Space Nine, though it was more dramatic. When they did
Yeah.
have comedy, it was actually good.
Right, like Armand Bashir is a
Mm-hmm.
particularly funny episode.
Yeah.
The Ferengi
So
episodes are usually cringe for me. I don't find that humor that funny
agree,
because
agree.
it's
And
all about like gender relationships and just
yeah.
concepts of gender, and it just gets dull.
Yeah, it's just it's difficult for me to enjoy the Ferengi because of how women aren't allowed to do anything, not
Right.
allowed to hold currency, not allowed to hold power, all of those things, not allowed to wear clothes.
Yeah.
And so I find it difficult to have any sympathy or caring towards the males of the species.
Well, at least we get to see them start to progress towards the end of Deep Space Nine.
Yep,
As
yep.
they women on the planet get more liberated as time goes by, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
still,
why is that? It's thanks to Moogie, let's be
yep,
honest.
yeah,
So, so yeah, but and then Enterprise, also a dramatic series, not great at comedy, not
yeah.
really. I think Discovery had a great balance when
Discovery
it,
is good because Discovery, a lot of the stuff is situational
yeah,
and a lot of relationships and misunderstandings and stuff like that, and so the humor comes off that way.
yeah,
So yeah, it works kind of like a workplace comedy would in a way, but not quite like Lower Decks, which is straight up that. It's a workplace comedy
yes,
in space.
yes, and Lower Decks excels at what they
Yeah.
do, but and it's hard to take a series like Discovery and inject humor into it, but I think they did a really good job, and I think they
Yep.
do it well with Strange New Worlds also.
Yeah, Stranger Worlds has good balance. It does have
It has its
genuinely funny
drama.
moments.
It has
Yeah.
funny moments, it has its drama, and I think that's a nice thing to balance.
Yeah, it feels a lot like the original series with a modern touch up.
Yep. A glow up, if you will.
Yeah, a blow up. Yeah,
A
because
glow up.
it's similarly episode of the week kind of thing, and they tell very similar stories, but it's just updated for a modern audience.
That and they do still have overarching stories, so
Yes,
it's not
there's
a reset
still,
button
yeah,
every time.
yeah, there's
So,
still overarching thing with, yeah, the Gorn and stuff like
and
that.
and other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Character development actually happens.
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, P.S. Give us more Ortega's character development, please. She is ridiculously underdeveloped, you guys. Get on that.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Well, she's such a strong character. It's like they might feel like they don't need to. It's like she feels like she's fully formed already. But it'd be
Yeah,
nice to get maybe a little bit more backstory, a little bit more, where she comes from and just like see other sides of her.
yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. All of the characters are well formed
Yeah,
in Strange New Worlds. All of them. And the thing is that all of them have gotten arcs,
right.
except for Ortega's. So
Um,
stop putting her on the sideline.
there was that one where they kind of losing sense of their identity, and she still realized that she flies the ship. That was a good
Yep.
Ortega's episode, but I think we could do with something a little bit more than she's good at her job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just something else, something outside of her being a pilot and good at flying a ship. What else
Yeah.
is there to her?
I want more.
Yeah,
So, yeah. Oh, wow. We went down the rabbit hole there. Do you have anything
that's
else
fine.
to say about The Survivor, my darling?
About this episode, it's very good.
Mhm.
There is a novelization on it. I was looking up on IMDb, and it was released on October 13th, which is kind of fun, of 1973. So, yeah, for our first episode of the animated series, this was a good one to land on because I imagine there's others that aren't quite this good.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't remember any episode of the animated series that I outright hated in any way.
Right.
There were some that were more interesting than others, but I wouldn't say there were any that I hated or strongly disliked.
Yeah, but this is
So,
one of the, I think it's rated as one of the best of the animated series, and we just happened to land on it. So that was
yeah.
fortunate for us.
Thanks, Dan's spreadsheet.
Yeah,
All right. Speaking of the spreadsheet,
right.
we are going to pick next week's, or not next
Oh,
week's,
this is throwing, is there something you're
week
hoping
after
for?
next. Is there
Or do you not
something
want
I'm
to put
hoping
up
for?
your expectations?
I don't want to put up my expectations. Did I leave my phone in the other room?
I'm not seeing it. It might be in the bathroom, you and your ADHD. Want me to go look
Just
for it?
tiny. No, no. Oh, it's right in
You
front
want?
of me.
Okay, there you
The
go.
the pop guard was blocking it from my view.
Ah, out of sight, out of mind.
Oh, and I did do a friend request for Tim Wallace, and he messaged about a little under an hour ago saying thank you for the friend request. Well, you're welcome, Tim. We would
Nice.
like to be friends with you because we think you're cool.
Yep.
So, all right. So, let me gotta go to the bottom again so I can make sure that I remember how many of these things there are. So, yeah, since Lower Decks is not out yet, we are at 933. So, hey Siri, give me a number between 1 and 933.
Done.
That's not.
All it said was done.
It
I
said
guess
an
we're done. That's
alarm.
the end of the shield modulation. It was really great having this podcast with you all.
No, it's thought I wanted to set an alarm. Hey Siri, pick a number between 1 and 933.
Guess we're one of those limited series on Netflix or Disney
It's
Plus.
547.
547.
547.
Deep Space
Okay.
Nine, maybe?
No,
Ah,
actually, it is Voyager.
another Voyager.
Another season
Huh.
5 episode,
Huh.
Counterpoint.
Counterpoint. Okay.
Counterpoint.
All right,
So,
we're going
yes.
back to the Voyager crew.
Yes, we are.
Counterpoint.
Random. That's
Yep.
how this
All right.
works.
Yeah, there might be some that we don't get to for a while, especially those that don't have that many episodes. So,
Yeah. I don't
yeah.
know if we discussed this on the last episode. And if we did, forgive me, folks, but I want to make sure that we reiterate this. If we land on a number that we have already used, we are then going to do a 50-50 thing between the number above it or the number below it. And when I say above, that means earlier in sequence, below means later in sequence.
Oh,
So
weird.
that is what we're going to do
Right.
in case we land on, like if we were to have landed on something we'd already done, then we would have the AI do heads or tails, basically.
Yep.
Heads being above, tails being below, and that's how we would choose. that episode.
That way
So
we wouldn't just be asking for number after number after number. And as we
exactly.
do this, keep hitting miss and miss and miss. Is like if we just go to the next available one further down the road or earlier in
Hmm.
the airing,
Yes.
then that's much easier than, yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, when there's going to be
So,
huge gaps, it's like, oh, what comes after? What comes before?
it's gonna happen as we go along. But that's a long time from now before that really becomes a problem. So there we are next week.
Yep.
Episode Counterpoint, Voyager season 5, episode 10 is what we will be coming. We will be coming. We'll be
We will be
becoming that
coming.
episode.
We will be coming to Fan X in a week from today. So if you're in the Salt Lake or metropolitan area or surrounding it,
Or if you're
and
coming to FanX.
this is the 28th of this month, which is September, at the Salt Palace in room 150G on Saturday the 28th at 2:30, we will be hosting a panel on goth representation in pop culture. So
Yeah.
I don't know how many of you listening, which isn't many at this point, but we didn't expect to start with a whole bunch of listeners. But yeah, if you're around the area, then yeah, that's where we'll be. And you'll probably see us wandering around the floor too. And you have a Star Trek podcast too that you can mention, I suppose, or a podcast, a panel.
Oh yes, talking about history of women in Star Trek. And I get to cover Prodigy this time, so I'm very excited indeed. And I can't remember what room that's in. I want to say it's 255 something.
Yeah, it's way in the boonies.
Yeah, it's the farthest you can possibly get from any of the other panel rooms.
Yeah, it's way away from the vendor floor. It's
Yeah,
like way out there.
I
It's like
do
opposite end
have.
of the main ballroom.
I do have the app. So Saturday, here we go. Give me a second because it's pretty early. I'm scrolling down. This isn't fun for the people who are listening.
I could look up the app too. I
Nope,
could
I've
bring
got
it
it.
up. Okay.
Women of Star Trek: A Brief History will be in room 255D, like
Ooh.
David,
Mm-hmm.
at 11 a.m.
All right. It's odd because a lot of them are on the half hour mark. So it's
Yes, it's
interesting
odd.
the rooms down there are on the hour.
Yeah, like all of the good rooms that you don't have to go out to the boonies for, they're on the half hour, and
Yeah.
so it seems, and the rest are all on the hour, which could really fuck up some people's schedules. So,
Thing is the rooms in the boonies I think are larger, so they might be expecting a bigger audience.
well, the thing is all of those rooms can be altered in
Right.
size because it's a convention center and the
Yeah.
walls move.
Yep.
So you can make them bigger, you can make them smaller, you can, cube them, you can cut them in
Right.
half and then cut them in half again, etc. So, yeah. Anyway. All right.
So,
Is one more thing? Yes?
if you want to follow my playlists, find me as DJ Evil Dave on SoundCloud and Spotify.
Do that thing.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, now I'm done.
Well, then we shall speak with you again 2 weeks hence, at which
Back
time
to
it will be
Voyager.
October. My
Yeah, and
God.
that's something too with doing it randomly. We're not going to have any specially themed episodes. There's not going to be Halloween episodes. There's not going to be Christmas episodes.
Mm-mm.
You're not going to get anything like that because it's going to be whatever the spreadsheet offers us. So
Yep.
yeah, we're
Full
back to
on,
Voyager.
full on random.
Yeah, and it'll be Counterpoint.
Yeah.
Another, what, season 5 episode did you say?
Season 5, episode 10. Yes, sir.
All right.
So, and that was one of Tim's questions was how we were going to treat two-parters. And I said they're going to be treated as as individual episodes because
Yeah.
that's the randomness. It's got to be truly random.
Yep.
So we're not going to cover two episodes together. Sorry. That's
Yeah,
how it is.
that's
That's how it is.
just how the cookie crumbles.
It is.
That's how the Vendorian transforms.
Sure.
It's how the Romulan bird of prey decloaks.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. I like that one. That's good.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. We will see you in 2 weeks, guys. Or well, we'll talk to you in 2 weeks. You won't see us, but
Mm.
you'll see us in your minds.
I
You'll hold
wonder
us in
how
your
short this
hearts.
episode's been. It's probably an hour.
Yeah. It's just about an hour.
Because I was thinking shorter episode of discussing a shorter episode of the podcast, but maybe not.
Not necessarily.
No.
All right, next in the next fortnight, we'll talk to you then.
2 weeks time. Live long and proper.
And live logs and prosper.
Yep. Sounds good.
Bye.
Still up.
Still up.